Hello, introverts and extroverts. I'd like to preface that I'm still trying to figure out what kind of content works for my channel, so who knows if I'll ever make another one of these story times or if you guys will even like this video. So if you do end up enjoying this new format, please comment, like, subscribe so that I know. My main motivation is making stuff that I know you guys will appreciate, so with that, on to the story. Now, back in high school, I was a very introverted person, a stretch of the imagination, I'm sure. And before I had the wonderful friends I do now, I had two older groups of friends. This story is about one of those old friend groups, but more specifically about a girl who I didn't want to have a part in this group. To provide context, a lot of people in my school didn't like this girl. For most people, it was because of her looks. She had an underbite and this piercing, blue-eyed stare that would just stare right into the depths of your soul. And also she was plus size, which I have no issues there because I'm plus size myself. For me, it was her behavior towards me that led me to not feeling comfortable around her. We'll call this girl Chloe. So what exactly did this Chloe do to get me to write a script after a sleep-deprived 3 a.m. morning? A lot of things. In high school, during gym class, we'd have 5 minutes before and after where we'd change our clothes. Therefore, all the girls are in a locker room together. Now, I'm an extremely self-conscious person, so the only person I want talking to me, especially while I'm underdressed, is my trusted friends. One specific day, however, Chloe got right up next to me and asked, "Do you like it when your boobs bounce while you run?" Excuse me? Do you like it when your boobs bounce while you run? Because I notice them bouncing everywhere when you run and when you walk down the stairs. Do you like it? Do you like knowing that I like it? I seriously wish that I was joking. I told her no, and that asking someone that is highly inappropriate. You know, just teaching her a valuable life lesson to avoid a talk from HR in her future career. From then on, I believe I changed in the shower area until I felt somewhat safe again. Oh, you thought it stopped there? During high school, if a teacher was absent, they would send us to a different room where they put all the other classes that had an absent teacher that day, just to work on assignments or on a worksheet. And one day, not only was the teacher absent, but so were my friends. Hoi, Jess. Hey, Chloe. God, not this girl again, I swear. If she makes one more comment about my chest, I'm gonna lose it. Do you want to watch a video of my dog getting raped? What the fuck? I'm just going to give you a moment to process that, because I know I sure as fuck did. Why the fuck would I want to see that? Why the fuck do you have that? And why are you offering to show it to people? Well, because it's funny. I don't think it's fucking funny. I'm not watching that shit, and if you try to, I will take that phone and shove it up your ass. Okay, well, I didn't say that last part, but I did tell her off. Now, I'm not a confrontational person by any means, but if you try to do something so fundamentally corrupt as to show me an inappropriate video of your animal being harmed sexually, even after I said fuck no, I will give you a huge ass fucking lecture before leaving. Now, clearly, I would avoid this girl whenever I could, but obviously it's hard when that girl is in most of your classes. However, my friend group at that time, not my current one of course, invited her to join us in our friend group. Obviously, I was livid having to deal with her at lunchtime, too. Hey, Abel, why do you always invite Chloe to eat with us? She makes me really uncomfortable and always makes comments about my body and doing inappropriate things towards— You're just so selfish. Huh? Because she's ugly, right? That's why you don't want her hanging out with us? Her looks don't have anything to do with it. I am her friend because no one else wants to hang out with someone that looks like her. And if you have a problem with that, you're just as shallow as the rest of this school. Unlike me, who can see past it. She's staying friends with me whether you like it or not. So, after that, I just stopped hanging out with that group of friends. They clearly didn't care how uncomfortable I was around Chloe. For me, it truly had nothing to do with how she looks, but with how she talked to me about sexual topics that I told her many times, politely and rudely, that it made me uncomfortable. I only bring it up because if people don't know my reasoning, they would think I just didn't like her because of how she looked. Since she was unconventionally attractive kind of thing. You know what I'm saying. And I'd like to point out that I hated Abel's action of only being friends with Chloe because she feels bad, and not because she genuinely enjoyed Chloe's company and thought that she was a good person because she was friends with her out of pity. She was pity friends with a lot of people. Any kind of person she found less fortunate or less attractive than her to make herself feel superior. She might have even felt pity towards me, who knows? I personally would rather be left alone than be friends with someone who didn't like me but just hang out with me because it made them look better or they felt bad that I had no one else. I want people surrounding me that genuinely care about my well-being and my interests and, I don't know how to finish the sentence. Anyway, let's move on. The last time I saw Chloe was at prom. We had ours in October of 2020, because COVID caused us to move the date back, even though we were all in college by then. I showed up in a poofy silver dress, let's just say that they showed off my assets. Now, prom night, I was already pretty uncomfortable. I realized as I was there that I'm regretting this dress being so revealing as I'm unattractive in the first place. And that my friends took more than an hour to show up, and it was COVID, so we weren't allowed to get up. We just had to sit at our assigned tables. Before the event, the school had us fill out a form to decide the seating arrangements. I wrote down my friends' names, of course, and I remember clearly writing, "Do not put me near Chloe." And I was one of the first people to show up, so I see my name on a table. And then right across from me, I see Chloe's name. So I'm led to believe 3 things. So either Chloe wrote to sit next to me at my table on her list, or Miss Abel decided she didn't want to sit next to Chloe, and didn't put Chloe's name on her sheet. Who knows? Or the more likely reason could be that they just needed a free seat to put Chloe in and no one else put Chloe on their little name things, so they put her at our table because, she'd fit right in with the quiet artist friends. Don't put them next to the popular jock people or the nerds or, I don't know, cheerleaders or something. What other stereotypes are there? Anyway. So, in the hour that it took for my gorgeously, fashionably late friends to show up, I love you guys, but damn, I was alone for a fucking hour. I had to sit in silence, worrying that I'd be alone all night with this girl staring right at my chest. The one night I wear something other than a hoodie or a turtleneck in order to feel pretty for once for myself and my friends, I am left feeling uncomfortable and vulnerable and stared at. Okay, I think I'm done talking about Chloe. Let's move on to another classmate that was just batshit insane. For my first year of college, I took a 1-year course of pre-animation and illustration, since my portfolio failed to get me into animation my first year. A first failure in many for animation for me. Anyway, it was the first full year of COVID, so I was doing college from home over Zoom. And we'll call this other girl Penny. Penny was overconfident and didn't have the skills to back up her massive ego. She would give unsolicited feedback on other people's work, talk endlessly about herself and her own projects, and overall think that her work was above other people's and above receiving criticism even from her professors. Not to brag, but in that year of college, I was an A student, so I think I did a pretty good job at drawing and following the teacher's advices. However, this was despite the fact that every single class, Penny would have a breakdown over Zoom. For context, in a class, the teacher would spend the time going over our work and giving us feedback, doing it publicly unless you asked specifically not to. And if Penny received any feedback that wasn't praising her, she'd throw a screaming fit and cry for 20 minutes. And I kid you not, almost exactly every time it would be for 20 minutes, if not longer. Most of the teachers threatened multiple times to kick her from the call or force her to mute, and then after a few minutes she'd just unmute her mic and scream and whine. After a few lessons of this happening, I told my mom about it, and she thought that I was exaggerating. But one day, she took the day off because being a nurse during COVID was draining, and she walked into the kitchen.
Oh, but Professor, I worked so hard on it. Can I just keep it that way?
Penny, the hand is facing the wrong way, and in such a way that the wrist would be broken if someone were to, put it in that position, and their smile is going into their eye. I'm just saying, all you have to do is move the lips down and, change the position of, oh god. Penny, not to be mean or anything, but your mic is fucking on. Penny, please turn off your mic so I may continue with the lesson. Penny. Penny. Oh. I thought you were exaggerating about how insane she was.
Professor.
Nope. Alrighty then, I'll just leave you to it. Now, allow me to give you 2 examples of her breakdowns, one related to her receiving valid criticism, and another one related to her getting scolded. Now, for context, for you non-artist people in the audience, a layout is a drawing of a background. It has no characters or anything that would otherwise be animated. We had a layout class because, drawing backgrounds is hard, and in animation there's a lot of backgrounds when you're watching a film or a show, So we had an assignment where we had to draw a bedroom. It had no requirements other than that you had to have a bed, and it couldn't be empty, so you had to have, posters, walls, desk, all that jazz. So remember how I said that there can be no characters in a layout? The teacher explained this many, many, many times, that you never ever draw a character or an animal in these assignments, any assignment in a layout class. Can you already take a guess at what Penny did? I can't remember exactly if there was 3 or 5 characters in her layout drawing, but it was a lot of characters that, didn't have to be put in there. The teacher calmly reminded her that, characters aren't allowed in the scene.
But Professor!
I wish I was able to convey to you how loud and whiny and loud and screamy and loud and just turn off your fucking mic, Penny. You guys only have to deal with this for one video. I've had to deal with this for I don't know how many classes at this point, but anyways, she argued with the professor that she should be allowed to add characters because she already drew them in the scene, and how she had to restart completely, which is lies because she could just erase the characters and fill in the blanks. But I can understand being upset about unfair criticism, but he said several times, and it was written in the paper for the requirements, that there should be no characters at all. I don't care if she was screaming and crying, if her mic was muted. But no, she had to make sure that her pain was announced to everyone during class time. Just off script, quickly. I remember there was one time that she was screaming and crying, and then she went into the next room without turning off her mic, and then had an argument with her dad, and the professor did nothing. Didn't, kick her out of the call because she wasn't near her computer. Nothing. We just had to listen to her dad yell at her while she was screaming and crying. Back to the topic at hand, another instance of her breaking down was during life drawing. Now, in life drawing, you have a nude model that you draw. I have seen many a different bodies in my time. And some of my favorite things was doing longer studies of parts of the body. Now, since it was COVID and over Zoom, during that time, the models wore like beige or like, skin colored bras and underwear to avoid the students taking screenshots, which is understandable. Doesn't take away from drawing other than losing the natural sag of the chest area, which, isn't really needed. And life drawing is a very professional and productive time to study the human form and the many poses and emotions that can be conveyed from it. And this day we had a male model. He was a cool dude, and he'd always have props or costumes at the end of class to have us draw silly little doodles of him. And this man was a conventionally attractive, late 30s, early 40s guy. He had the kind of body that was a tiny bit chubby, but still very, muscly at the same time. Oh man, I love drawing different body types. Anyway, we were all sketching him, and he had his back turned away from us in a pose, kind of like he was praying or something. And suddenly, without warning,
"You have such a big, juicy ass!"
So, yeah, the teacher had to scold her. Understandably so, these models come in to work for us, standing fully still, typically naked, in order for us to study the human form, not for us to gawk at their physical appearance, whether she meant it positively or not. Receiving a comment like that as you're trying to work must have been so uncomfortable for him. And I'd imagine if the roles were reversed and it was a male saying that the woman's ass looked juicy and big, that he'd get a harsher scolding. And yes, she did have a crying fit and screamed after being told not to catcall a guy as he's only in his underwear doing a pose for us. And luckily, after I graduated from the course, I moved on to animation, and I never heard from her again. I don't know if she took an illustration course, or went straight to working, or quit, or what have you. But yeah, essentially, she was very much an oddball who didn't want to receive help no matter how much the students, including me, suggested ways for her to receive help, because clearly she needed it and she didn't want it, and you can't help those kinds of people. If her show is eventually able to be made, as much as I hope for it to be good, I can't imagine working with someone like that, honestly. And I realize that this video might make me seem like an asshole, but these two girls and the anger/disgust I feel towards them will be enough rage to last me until the end of my days. And there are very few people in this world that I hate, and those two aren't one of those, surprisingly. I understand they're both fairly young, even if both their actions could have been avoided with common sense. I tend to forget how quickly I've matured in high school and middle school, whatever. So please let me know in the comments if you've ever had a classmate that's made you angry or uncomfortable with their mere existence. Once again, comment, follow me on my social medias if you enjoyed my content and want to see more. I don't know if I'll ever make another story time, but if you like it and want me to make more, please let me know. I just need to think about what other stories I have. Maybe I could talk about the time that I had to report a man to HR at my work. Regardless, have a good one. Oh man, this is gonna be a fucking pain to edit. Oh god. Why? How do people do this? Oh man. Aw, fuck, I did a story time! Fucking people are gonna compare me to fucking Jade in the animations more! Shit! Why couldn't it be fucking Rebecca Parham? Or Elle Cartoons? God. Jaden's alright, but... Man. I don't even watch her. I just look like her, and like the color purple. And... Fuck, why do we both have to draw circle heads? God, being a YouTuber is fucking hard.